Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and today we're going to have a look at the GFS, the GEM, ECMWF, the UK Met Office, along with the GFS, GEM and ECMWF ensembles. We've got some very interesting weather coming up over the next few days. Sort of the beast from the east is arriving. Now it's not like the 2018 beast from the east, but I think looking at the impacts we could be seeing, I do think we could probably classify it as a beast. Now, in this video I'm going to be looking at how long this beast of the east could last. A lot of people are looking at convective showers, heavy snow over the weekend into early next week. But in this video I'm going to look at more the longer term trends, i.e. what's going to be happening towards the end of this spell. Whether it will break down on Wednesday, Thursday next week, or whether it will last a little bit longer, and how will it break down? Because the way it breaks down could give quite a lot of snow to some areas, and particularly some western areas or southwestern areas in certain circumstances, who will probably not see as much snow as the east would. We'll be seeing over the next few days. So we'll run for the GFS firstly, and the GFS has poorly modelled this colder spell. It really came onto the bandwagon in the last minute. It was early in spotting the patterns, but it really didn't go for the quite very cold air until only a couple of days ago. And again, I've seen with the GFS, it is really breaking out of this pattern as quickly as it possibly can. So I'll run through it quickly, and you can see the low pressure sinks down, which is pulling those beastly easterly winds, and you can see -10 takes over the whole country, and as it peels away this low pressure on Sunday, we could be seeing some very heavy snow in eastern central areas. Already a yellow warning out for that, along with the amber warning for snow over Scotland over the next couple of days. I suspect in the eastern areas, in central areas, southeastern areas, there could be an amber warning in force overnight Saturday into Sunday and through Sunday, simply because of that frontal system moving away, with it turning readily to snow as we progress into Sunday. So yeah, I'll be doing a video on the snow prospects later today, this afternoon, into this evening, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, beyond that, we maintain the very cold easterly winds, and if we again have a look at the upper airs coming into Tuesday, -10 over most of the country. Maybe the M4 southwards is a little bit milder, but again, it will still be very, very cold regardless. It just won't be the getting into the -10 territory, maybe -7, -8, -9. Beyond that, low pressure remains to our south, but the GFS tries to push in low pressure in on Thursday into Friday. Now, where you see this air mass boundary here, that's where there will be a band of snow initially, and then turning to rain. And where it stalls, as it inevitably will do, coming in some very dense cold air, is where we could see some heavy snow. It does make very slow progress northward, so you could be seeing a lot of snow, even in southern areas, Midlands. In this scenario, southwestern areas may miss out, but some other models are showing southwestern areas could be favoured. Beyond that, you see the cold air remains strong in the north, and the weather front looks like it may stall over northern England and remain very cold in the north. Westerly parts of Scotland could again see an absolute dumping of snow. Very unfortunate that the ski slopes in Scotland are not open at the moment, as they will be having a field day, really. Beyond that, those lows remain rattling in off the Atlantic, trying to break through that final sort of block of cold air to our north. And eventually, come the weekend on the GFS, they do, and we turn much milder, and a westerly pattern comes back. It's not very mild, but again, it's not going to produce any snow other than the potential over parts of Scotland. So again, the GFS is breaking us out in quite a cold, snowy breakdown, but it does sweep away quite quickly, whereas if we have a look at some other models, it does stall a little bit more. If we have a look at the GEM model, again, very similar pattern to the GFS, very cold air. Sits across the UK early next week into Sunday. You see bitterly cold air spreading across the whole country. -10 line getting through, even down to southwestern areas, parts of Ireland as well. Pretty much the whole of the British Isles is submerged in the -10 line. Beyond that, as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, you can see that air of low pressure comes up against the block of cold air, and it very much sits to our south. Now, unfortunately, on this run, it does look like it perhaps could be bringing milder air for many southern areas, but where we see that -5 line, it will be readily turning to snow, and earlier than that would be snow even for like southwestern areas initially, before turning to rain on Wednesday into Thursday. Now, again, as this low moves through, colder air wraps around again, and we could be turning a little bit colder in the longer term. So again, with that GEM run, it does go a bit colder than the GFS in the longer term, and that breakdown is a bit slower as well. But as we move into the weekend, that block remains to our north, and it could give us another shot of cold air if we ran that on another few days. Again, it's very uncertain at the moment with this. As you can see, the GFS is rolling in the Atlantic at day 10, whereas the GM is holding onto that block. And although it does turn milder in the south temporarily, it could start to turn colder again as you see cold air starting to sink further southwards again. It never turns mild, especially over Scotland. So Scotland could be seeing some very, very low temperatures over the next week to 10 days, quite consistently. Now, if we have a look at the ECMWF, which is the most blocked of the models, and it's really the model you want on board, as it's the most reliable. But again, you can't count out any of the other models. It really is, you've got to get a good consensus. So it's just one potential solution. Is the low rattles through over on Sunday, bringing that snow and very cold air to engulf the whole of the UK. And as we head into Thursday, we'll stay in the air masses. You can see milder air does spread in. However, it doesn't get much further north than the M4 line on Friday. Much colder air sits to our north, and parts of southwestern areas, maybe southern England, parts of southern Wales, southern Ireland, will be going milder, but it won't be going very mild, maybe 4 or 5 degrees, with quite cold air still on the surface. Could produce potentially some freezing rain along with that. And if we move through, milder air does take hold of sort of M4 line southwards, and again the cold air is sent a bit further northwards, towards the North Midlands and northern England, but it's never too far away. And as we head towards day 10, if we bring back the pressure patterns, you can see blocking is still to our north even more than the GM, and we are bringing in an easterly wind. And as those lows move away, it's likely that this cold air could sink back southwards again, towards next weekend into early next week. So although it may go temporarily mild in the south, just like the GFS and the GM were showing, the ECMWF, even more than the GM, looks like it will be bringing the bitterly cold air back again at the end of next weekend. So yeah, very interesting from the ECMWF there. Could have a very snowy breakdown there. And remember, if this pattern shifts 100 miles further southwards, that snow line will be over parts of southern England, and southern England not only will be seeing heavy snow initially, but could be seeing heavy snow throughout the whole of this sort of potential breakdown. So yeah, very interesting with that. Now we'll finally have a look at the UK Met. Again, it doesn't show too much of the breakdown, as again it doesn't get far enough in, but you can see even by next Wednesday, you can see the lows are quite far to our south. Still a lot of blocking to our north, pulling in those easterly winds. So I suspect, again, will follow similar to the GM and ECMWF, and not like the GFS, which has these lows a bit further northwards, bringing that milder air in. We'll next have a look at the ECMWF, see how much support that ECMWF run does have. And you can see, actually, the ensembles are colder in the longer term. In the shorter term, the ECMWF is pretty much along with its ensembles. A couple of times it does dip to sort of the lower extreme of the ensembles, but generally it's following the ensembles at about the 11th, 12th perhaps. So yeah, so in about a week's time, so by next Thursday they've got a decent consensus, the operational one with its ensembles, but the operational one does go milder in London, whereas the ensemble members remain colder. So that is why I say a small shift in that -5 line could keep the cold further southwards, and that's certainly what the ECMWF ensembles are looking at, potentially keeping it only -3, -4, 850 HPA down in southern England. Now you might think, oh, that's not cold enough for snow. However, if in this sort of scenario where we've had a very, very cold air over the top of the UK, it does cool the lower levels quite considerably. So even if the upper air is only -3, -4, it can still fall as snow. It will be, yes, marginal, but there's still potential that it could fall as snow. So again, I wouldn't rule out at this stage the potential that this cold spell could be longer than the sort of the Wednesday cut-off, which many people are looking at the moment, it could be a couple of days longer than that, and could finish with some very widespread heavy snow. Really, anywhere in the country, if you have a look at those model runs. Yeah, so very interesting with that. A lot of people are concentrating on the easterly winds and the sort of the beastly easterly winds over the next few days, Saturday into Sunday. But again, you've got to watch out for what's going to happen with this breakdown, because not only could you see snow showers and heavy snow from over the next few days into early next week, you could also get a massive snow event Wednesday into Thursday. Now again, it's not assured as it's too far out, but it's just really one to watch at the moment. We'll have a look at the GEM ensembles. We'll turn to 850 HPA and precipitation. You can see generally they do go a lot milder from about the 12th of February onwards. Now the GEM goes around average, as you saw with that as that operation run. It does keep that cold not too far away, and you can see it's around the middle of its ensembles. But there are 3, 4, 5, so that is a good few ensemble members remaining very cold throughout the middle of February. And again, with what's been happening in the stratosphere, with the blocking we've seen over this winter so far, you cannot count those out. As if we get the blocking in the right place, this is a very viable option where we keep it very cold for a good week to 10 days. Now I do suspect, though, just looking at the general pattern, that there will be a bit of an uptick come the end of next week, but the chances of us plunging colder again, I'd say are pretty decent at this stage in the longer term. Again, GM and the ECMWF ensembles are both showing the potential that even after this 4 or 5 day sort of cold spell that's pretty locked in at the moment, it could be remaining cold with maybe a little bit of an brief upward shift as those low pressures try and move back in against the block. Finally, we'll have a look at the GFS ensembles, and we'll go to 850 HPA and precipitation. You can see the GFS ensembles are a lot more volatile at the moment, as you can see. You can see, look at this, only 2 days out, and some of the ensemble members are going sort of way against the average. So yeah, you can just see, although it's got a trend, there's a lot of scatter. Towards the 12th to 14th of February, you do see there are some very cold ensemble members remaining, not too much in the longer term, but then there are a few towards the 17th, 18th, dipping down below -5, getting towards -10 again. So yeah, there's potential there. The GFS, though, on its ensembles, I wouldn't really take it too literally at the moment. Again, just look at that spread. At points, it's getting up to a potentially 15 to 20 degree spread. Even into this weekend, there's still a good 10-degree spread on some of the ensembles, which, I mean, is very poor performance from the GFS, I must say. I would expect at this stage, up until maybe the 10th of February, it to have a much closer spread than it does. The spread is about the same for the 9th of February as it is around the 14th, 15th. So yeah, very weird from the GFS, but again, it does show you that the cold spell could be from the 7th, 8th up until maybe the 14th or more, maybe beyond, if you have a look at the other ensemble members. So yeah, even though we are going to be seeing some beastly easterlies over the next few days, and many people are looking at ending Wednesday, Thursday, what we've seen in these models and these ensemble members, I wouldn't count out this lasting longer than sort of a 4 or 5 day cold spell. And we could be seeing quite a lot of snow on the ground by the end of this, with those low pressure systems potentially moving in against the block. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay tuned, because I'll be updating on the snow potential in the near future with this evening's video, this afternoon's evening video. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe new, and I'll see you again for another video this evening.